Hello, everyone. Well, you all saw the latest NBC poll Sunday. 71% of Americans believe the country's headed in the wrong direction. So what are we doing in the Senate this week? We're having a cloture vote on what is called the John Lewis Voting Rights Act tomorrow, the assumption being that something has happened to the Voting Rights Act. Of course, nothing could be further from the truth. The Supreme Court did not strike down the Voting Rights Act. It remains against the law to discriminate against people on the basis of race in any state in the country with your election procedures. In fact, this is a Trojan horse to carry a lot of other provisions that the Democrats have wanted to enact through the earlier voting rights bill that we've already considered and rejected. Clearly, they want to change the subject. They want to change the subject away from how the American people feel about this administration, about the reckless tax and spending bill, onto a non-existent problem with this marching out of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act again. I repeat, the Supreme Court did not strike down the Voting Rights Act. It's still on the books. There's no evidence right now anywhere in the country that states are engaged in suppressing the vote based upon race.
The Biden administration is overseeing the worst border crisis in America's history. Before it's all said and done this year, there will be over 2 million people, or about 2 million people, who will come into this country illegally. And now, to make matters worse, the administration is considering paying people who are here illegally and are suing this country $450,000 per person to come into the United States. And if you add that up, families, multiple people in the families, that could get up over $1 million real fast for people who are here in this country illegally. That, if you think about it, is 6.5 times the median average income in this country. It is 4.5 times what is paid to the families of people who have lost soldiers in combat. It is more than most of the families in 9/11 received from the government. This, ladies and gentlemen, is an insult to the hardworking taxpayers in this country. The Biden administration's ideas, there isn't a day that goes by around here where there isn't a horrible idea that comes out. And we've been dealing with that on a daily basis now for the past several weeks. But this is an idea that just is got to be done away with. The American people are not going to tolerate the people who work hard in this country to try and take care of their families having their government pay $450,000 per person to people who come here illegally. This needs to be stopped in its tracks, and hopefully the administration will come to a senses and see that it is.
The Biden administration is clearly out of step with the American people. Everyone here has seen the national polling numbers that show only 22% of Americans believe that the country is headed in the right direction. The American people know what their concerns are, and they're very different from the misguided obsession of the Biden administration. The American people are really worried about inflation and how it's taking a bite out of their paycheck every week, so their dollars don't go as far. Instead, the Biden administration wants to raise trillions of dollars in taxes and trillions of dollars in spending. The American people are concerned about the fact that when they go to fill up or a tank of gas, it's costing $35 more to fill the tank than it did when Joe Biden came to office. And instead, Joe Biden is over in Scotland apologizing for America and wanting to raise the cost of American energy. The American people want this flood of illegal immigration going on at the border, the southern border, to stop. And the administration wants to pay $450,000 to people who came here illegally, which is 4.5 times as much as they pay to a family like that of Riley McCullum, the soldier from Wyoming who was killed in Afghanistan, along with a total of 13 soldiers at the end of the fall of Afghanistan. And this administration must think that the American public love the IRS because the administration wants to pay an additional $80 billion to the Internal Revenue Service. They want to supersize the IRS. And then this supersized IRS will do more auditing and more squeezing of the American people for taxpayer dollars. The American people have lost confidence in this administration, and they don't believe that the President or this administration is up to the job.
Well, on the border, as two of my colleagues have already pointed out, the administration managed to bring attention back to their failures at the border by talking about these outrageous settlement numbers. The contacts at the border in the first 9 months have been 5 times as high as they were during the Trump administration in the year when the Trump administration was most challenged at the border. 1.5 million encounters already this year. Fentanyl seizures are up about 2.5 times what they were a year in 2020 on a monthly average. From day one, when the administration decided we're going to stop building the wall. In fact, we're not even going to replace the wall if it's temporarily down while a barrier was being built to replace it. We're going to stop all of that. There are more than one place along the border where essentially those big gaps in what had been previous border barriers have become a funnel that both people and illegal substances are coming through. This is a crisis, even though on November the 19th, the nominated head of the Customs Service refused to say it's a crisis. Americans know it's a crisis. Drawing attention to it is a good thing for looking at the problem. It's a bad thing for the Biden administration when people begin to look at this problem and a number of others.
Every year for the past 60 years, this Congress has passed the National Defense Authorization Act. And yet we have not seen the NDAA brought forward on the floor of the Senate. The Senate Armed Services Committee passed our version of the bill 3 months ago. One of the most important legislative items that we are responsible for and our nation is responsible for is to provide for our men and women in uniform and for our nation's defense. And yet this administration and Leader Schumer are abdicating our authority. Let's just take a look around the globe at what's going on. China is testing hypersonic missiles. Russia is exerting pressure on Ukraine. Iran is exerting influence across the region, as is North Korea in their region. The Taliban now has control of Afghanistan, providing safe harbor for terrorist organizations. And our southern border is wide open, folks. Who is providing for our national security? And how will we get that done if we are not able to get the NDAA over the finish line? So I am calling on Leader Schumer to set aside floor time. Instead of doing all of these low-level nominations, let's make sure that our federal government is providing the authorities necessary for our military, our men and women in uniform, to protect our nation.
Today we have an important election in Virginia. I'm very hopeful that Glenn Youngkin will win the race. I think what Terry McAuliffe and Democrats are going to learn tonight is that American public is fed up with the Biden agenda. They're fed up with open borders. They're fed up with amnesty. They're fed up with our schools teaching critical race theory. They're fed up with a failed Afghanistan withdrawal. They're fed up with high gas prices, food prices, defunding the police. I think this is going to be the first of many elections where the American public are going to say, we are sick and tired of the Biden agenda.
Leader McConnell.
Yes, Jeff.
Good afternoon.
Yep.
If the House goes ahead and passes this social spending bill, bounces it over here, obviously there would probably have to be changes. You know how things always work with the Burr rule and everything else. So what would we anticipate from Republicans to try to throw, gears in the process here during a vote-a-rama to try to mess with that bill to make it harder for the House of Representatives to process that bill when it goes back?
Well, I think we all know there are two Democratic senators that are going to be able to write this bill. Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema will determine what the bill looks like. There is a process for amendments, and you can be assured that we'll have a robust amendment process during the vote-a-rama. But I think we all know, and I think the House knows as well, that Manchin and/or Sinema are going to write the bill, and then I would observe this seems to be quite a challenging exercise for them. I'm glad it is. This is a bill America does not want and does not need. The ideal solution would be to not pass it. But if it's to pass, it'll be written by Manchin and/or Sinema.
Leader McConnell.
Yeah.
One of the most popular polling-wise provisions that was in that bill is the paid family leave provision. It doesn't seem like that's going to be in the final version. Is there any version of a paid family leave proposal that Republican senators would support or that you would support should it come up sometime down the line?
Look, if I were the majority leader and we were setting the agenda, that'd be a good discussion to have. But we're not setting the agenda. We're reacting to what they're proposing, and that seems to be challenging for them as well.
Leader McConnell, based on the way the bill is written today, how would you expect it to score, and how would that affect the process, even if it is scored this week?
With your mask on, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
I was asking, based on the way the bill stands today, how would you expect it to score?
Well, I don't know how the bill stands today. Do you? I don't have a clue. I'm pretty sure
Without additional changes.
many of the Democrats are not sure what it looks like either. And what it does seem to me is if the House passes the reckless taxing and spending bill, that won't be the final word. I think whatever can get out of the Senate, if anything can, and I'm still hopeful that it can't, will probably be the final bill.
Leader McConnell.